Hey Josh, what's up? Fuck you. We're gonna be talking. We talked about me recording some stuff to show you about how some of the weakening and strengthening stuff works and how you can explain it to your students. I thought it would be easier probably to show off some of the drills that we talked about specifically, and then how I would explain them and how they look. And then on top of that, probably just showing off the different permutations that we talked about. So you can use it as a reference when you're talking to your guys. Let's go in the list if you don't mind. You can just turn. Okay, talking about weakening and strengthening, which is what we talked about. Let's talk about weakening really quickly and show examples. Page is just going to move around, so mostly just pay attention to what the swords are doing. I have Jack helping out, so you know Jack well. You'll do this. All right, so what we talked about, and this is how I said that we can kind of demonstrate these things with your students, is that if we're both in long point, we're both binding, right, what are the type of actions that we can do when weaken or strengthen. For weakening, we have a few different things, specifically disengaging, pulling, and then really any active cutting around. I want to show really quickly what these look like. Maybe Paige can stand behind me to get the perspective of where my blade is, so that you can see Jack's sword. Can you see Jack's sword pretty okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So an example of weakening, if Jack is the one who's weakening, if Jack disengages, like so, easy peasy. If we do that nice and slow, the act of going underneath, right? Moving away from the position of strength, really simple. If Jack is zuckening or pulling, it's the act of pulling up and around. If Jack makes that action really, really small so that he's only just covering to the tip of the blade, it would look like so. But notice that Jack gets an overbind at the end of the action, but the act itself is moving away from the position of strength. That's weakening. And we talked about Schlagen and the Blaufin, but really this is just an act of if Jack were to cut around to the other side, like so, we can look at that as an Abnehmen or Schlagen. And do you know what the Blaufin is? Not quite. If Jack goes for a high hanging when I'm strengthening, and then he weakens his blade so that it slides off like so, that would be in a Blaufin, which is, like we talked about, pretty familiar in tournament settings. All of those actions were the act of weakening. Let's talk about strengthening, just so that you have an idea of it too. If Jack is strengthening, he has a few different options. He can strengthen in long point, flug, cron, in a high hanging position. And altogether that gives us about 7 different permutations of action. If Jack is strengthening to flug, Jack is pulling himself all the way to his hip, nice and retracted. Let's do that again. So boom, strengthen, right, like so. If Jack is strengthening at long point inversely, this is just Jack pointing his wrist across and getting an overbind, like so. That'd be strengthening at long point. Notice that Jack's crossguard is flat. That doesn't have to be the case. Jack can also turn that edge in. This is all just strengthening at long point or taking a long point. The difference being one's retracted, one's extended. The utility is that if Jack takes in long point, this acts as essentially a thrusting action. So it happens like an abscession or a thrusting tempo. Jack can also take in cron, which is the act of him going all the way up to this high position like so. Jack did it with the step forward, but we don't have to. If we do that again, Jack can raise all the way up. That's him getting it strong involved. And the question would be, is he strong, yes or no? We'd say that he is. And then lastly, Jack can go into a hanging position, ideally a high hanging position, like so, right? Like so, he's extending to a high hanging. We can do it in 2 different ways. If I'm strong on his blade and that happens again, boom, boom. This is usually what this ends up looking like, but the idea of why this is good is that he's getting his strong involved for a position of control. He can do that with extension like he just did, boom, high hanging. Or he can do that with retraction where he pulls his arms back as he goes to high hanging. Like so. Probably cover yourself in a hanging guard, please. Like, right, and this would be more prime for a cut around. You can end the video there.